welcome back to Inside the Boardroom. Thanks for joining us in this edition. Today we're focused on Mogotes Metals, a company that's exploring and advancing in the Vicuña copper gold silver district, an area that's known for some of the world's most prolific mineral discoveries. Here to tell us a lot more about what's going on lately for the company is Alan Sabet, CEO of Mogotes. Alan, it's been a few months. Thanks for joining us again.
Absolutely. Great to be here.
So let's talk right away about your latest news. An options agreement. Tell us why this news is a game changer for Mogotes.
Well, it's very important for us because we're exploring in as you said, one of the most attractive places, in my opinion, to explore for copper and gold in the world. And we have what's known to be a north-south, so running from north to south, trending corridor of mineralized deposits. And this goes about 1,000 kilometers, okay? Now, if you zoom in a lot more, you get into what's called the Vicuña district. And in the Vicuña district, again, it's following that same trend of north to south. And we have a number of recent discoveries. So, running from north to south, we've got a deposit called Los Helados, which is held by a company called NGX Minerals. And then you come a bit further south, maybe 10, 15 Ks, and you hit a deposit called Lunahuasi, which is an emerging discovery with phenomenal copper and gold grades. And that's also held by NGX Minerals. And so they're valued, I think, over $2 billion Canadian today. And then you follow that north-south trend further, and you get to Filo del Sol, which in the last week was recently purchased for $4.5 billion Canadian dollars valuation by a BHP and Lundin Mining in a 50-50 percentages. Of course, the question is, when you keep going south, does it just stop? And so, historical precedent has this corridor, as I said, goes for many thousands of Ks. So in our opinion, the southern projection of this north-south belt is a very important place to be looking for copper and gold. And that's what we've been doing for the last 2 years. So we are directly and have been directly south of the Filo del Sol exploration project. But what we didn't have until this last week is the other half. So when you come south directly from Filo del Sol, you'd see the Filo Sur project. That's where we've been exploring, broadly speaking, in Argentina. Across the border into Chile, on the other kind of western part of this projection of Filo del Sol, was a land package that we've just, in the last week, signed an option agreement to purchase or to staged purchase of an acquisition of up to 80% of that land package. That puts us in the driver's seat for exploration. And now, with that land package and the one we already had, we have control over that southern projection of the Filo mineralized belt.
So I believe in the press release, there was mention of a strong geophysical anomaly and surface sampling results at Meseta and Cumbre. Can you elaborate on what makes these targets promising for HSC and porphyry mineralization?
Okay, so let's talk about the Meseta prospect. That's a great question. At the Meseta prospect, that's our northernmost kind of target, and it's the one that directly adjoins Filo del Sol. So you'd imagine the southernmost hole at the Filo drilling, and then you go a stone's throw, you have to throw pretty far, but maybe a couple of hundred meters. That's where the Meseta prospect starts, okay? Now there, what we have that's very interesting is there at the surface, lots of vuggy silica, which is, blocks of rock with lots of holes in it. And typically you see this in a high temperature environment. And associated with it, sometimes you have gold and silver. And indeed in our rocks, we have up to 1.5 grams per ton gold in those vuggy silica rocks. That's a great textured type of rock to be seeing. And it's the type that you get in a high sulfidation epithermal environment. And then when you look at the geophysical data set, beneath that vuggy silica kind of layer, what we see is a really resistive horizon-like feature. Resistive is interesting because that indicates potentially more of that silica, and if it's mineralized, that would be interesting, and that would be great for us. Then beneath that, you've got a highly conductive and simultaneously chargeable geophysical body. That's a target. That's a really good target in terms of geophysical profile. and the numbers we're seeing also qualify it as something that's worthy of exploration for sure. But what we didn't have until now is, now if you imagine an orange, and that's the geophysical target, we had half the orange, okay? The other half of potentially what could be the other half of the orange, we didn't have that, because that's been sitting on this other ground. And I'm simplifying this for the viewers. So we're going to go in and finish that geophysical picture. And to date, we haven't drilled into this half an orange because we didn't have the other half yet. So we're going to complete this picture now, and we're going to see, and that's going to help us identify the best places to kind of do our next bit of exploration.
Also read that you're working with Compañía Minera del Pacífico, I hope I said that right, on the agreement. How does this collaboration strengthen your position in the Vicuña district, if at all?
I think it's just that we've come to terms with this company, CMP. They're 75% owned by a large Chilean multi kind of commodity industrial conglomerate called CAP. The other 25% is actually Mitsubishi from Japan. So this is an iron ore company that's one of the leading iron ore producers in South America. They've got operations all over the country of Chile, and they're fantastic people to be working with. They've been working in Chile for a long time. Iron ore is their core business. Copper exploration is not, and that's where we come together. So we're going to be doing the exploration work here, and they're just more of a partner in the sense that they'll be a minority shareholder and we'll be the majority shareholder once this option, if it is exercised, is completed. And it's always good to know that the people you work with are reputable and they have a strong kind of business roots in the country. And I'm optimistic that will lead to all kinds of benefits down the line should we make a discovery and want to advance this project into mining. It's too early to say what those would be, of course.
Yeah. Well, before you go, curious to know if there are any pieces of news that investors could be looking forward to in the next few months.
Absolutely. We're going to be talking about what the exploration work that we started doing late last year and early this year in our Argentina side of the project. And we're going to be quickly getting on the ground there in Chile on this new ground package and doing the work that I've outlined earlier. You can expect updates on that in the coming weeks as we look at it and understand what it is. And then as we sample, take things to the lab, and then do the geophysics. And so all of that is something to look forward to in the coming weeks and months.
Great. Well, Alan Sabet, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.